So it's been a few months now since we've had a garden update, and things have been ticking along really well. We were a little bit sidetracked with work in the house, so some things worked, some things didn't. We've had quite a good harvest, and this is kind of the tail end of it now, so it's looking a bit empty, and we're going to try and get a few winter veg in this week as well. So I'll give you a quick look around and we'll see how we did for the first season. So all the leeks that went in, and they should be ready for Christmas or winter. Got quite a bit of chard left, all the rainbow chard, but as you can see, the chickens have been all over here. They seem to like the leaves, but that's just the tail end of that really. This bed was all beetroot, and we've had a great harvest of that. The candied beetroot and golden beetroot actually gave us more per seed really than the red, so that's good. So the framework that was holding the peas up has all come out now, that was going along here, and we've got all the runner beans, still getting a few on there, but again it's pretty much the tail end of those. Left a few good sized pods on here to shrivel up, and that way we've got some seeds for next year, and obviously you don't need that many, so we've just held back a few, and hopefully that'll be enough for next year's crop. So we've let the bantams out onto the garden, and they don't really do a huge amount of damage, and they just help kind of keep down the bugs and the slugs, so that's no problem at all. Now and then they get to the bottom leaves of the broccoli, but it's only a few of the crops that they actually touch. I planted a bit of kale earlier in the year, and most of it just got decimated by the caterpillars, butterflies, but it's amazing how some of this fights back, and it's such a robust crop. This will go all the way through winter. These are all the purple sprouting broccoli. They've shot up again. These were eaten away at the beginning of the season, and now they're growing back absolutely fine. Stacks of French beans, only got a short row here, but we've had loads off there, more than we need. And as you can see, I'm growing cherry tomatoes up the other side, and it's quite nice, they're all mingled in together and all doing absolutely fine. All the little plug plants of lavender have done really well, and hopefully by next year we'll have a pretty solid hedge here, and they all flowered, so that's good. Courgette we had quite a lot of, there's just a few left here, small yellow ones left on this one, and I just popped a couple of bricks under just so they weren't in contact with the soil. But again, nearly all of this we've grown with a bark mulch covering, so everything's been held off that kind of damp soil, which has been really beneficial to making sure there's no rot. Herbs as always, no problem at all. We've got loads and loads here. We've got chives under there somewhere, parsley, dill, rosemary, sage, mint, and some of that will last through this winter until next year. So tomatoes, so this is the first year we're growing tomatoes outside, and the results have been pretty good. We started fairly late, we planted all these in June, so I think next year we'll try and get some in earlier, and nearly every plant here is a different variety. I was leaning up this glass panel to try and ripen some off because it's getting a bit late in the summer now, but most of them we've had you know, a good handful of fruit off each. So sort of standard tomatoes this end, and we'll just see if I can find the label. Furline. So Furline variety. I believe they were advised to be quite good outside, so and they seem to have done well. And we had so many trusses on here, I've been chopping them off just to make sure we get some fruit ripening, otherwise we just end up with a whole load of green tomatoes. Then we've got the Sun Baby yellow cherry tomatoes, which were the first to ripen, and we've had stacks of these, so that's good. It's got some nice trusses on the way, and nearly all of them were double or triple trusses, which I think is probably just the good summer we've had has helped that. And then these two on the left here, these are bush tomatoes, so they don't need trussing up on stakes, and we've had lots on there, but to be honest they're so low to the ground that we've had wood lice and slugs get at those. So if I did it again, I'd either stake them up a little bit or probably give them a miss and stick with the standard varieties. So here's a little look at how I've grown up the cherry tomatoes on one side and beans on the other, and everything's growing fine together. I've got a few French beans left over and still some nice big trusses and vines here with the cherries, and same again further along here, a few cherries there, a few lower down. So I would be tempted to do that again, you know, share the supports between plants. As long as they're all watered and fed well, there seems to be no problem there. So a few of the beef tomatoes left on here. You know, they're great size, especially for outdoor. There's you know, a good couple of pound left on this plant. So I'm hoping they're going to ripen off in the next week or so. Actually, there's some more down here which needs to be staked up. And again with these, they're just sending out more and more trusses, so I'm trying to keep them all trimmed back so we end up with some ripe fruit. Next plant here is Black Russian. So these are the ones that finish with a slightly darker skin, and it's amazing flavour to them. A bit more of a kind of heritage heirloom sort of variety. And there's a great big truss of those down here. So the combination of using the Back to Eden approach, which is to use that bark mulch, which avoids the need for watering and feeding as much, and also having the raised bed design has worked really well, and we'll stick with that for next year. So looking to next year, we're going to give the white onions a go again, and hopefully get some garlic and shallots, just because all those you can store and they'll last you through the rest of the year. Definitely we'll stick with the leeks, and the beetroot worked really well. Definitely get some of that in the ground again. Peas, beans, mange too. We've got space for those, and we'll grow those on the same sort of wigwams as before. Tomatoes, I'm going to still plant outside, the ones that did well, and also build a small lean-to greenhouse against the shed from some old unused kind of reclaimed windows out the house. And we'll also be able to get some other varieties in there, and some cucumbers and other things that we wouldn't be able to grow without a greenhouse. We haven't had many apples this year due to pruning them back so hard when we moved into the house. So hopefully next year will be much better. We've cleared out quite a bit of space at the bottom of the garden now, so we'll be looking to plant up a small orchard of plums and pears down there, and that will just give us a bit more fruit that we can store and preserve for the rest of the year.